Welcome to another edition of Market Rumblings here on the fourth period. That's Dennis. I'm Dave. And DB, we are 3.5 weeks away from the NHL trade deadline, and there is a lot of talk. Things are really starting to pick up across the NHL. Let's go to Los Angeles in your backyard, talk about a couple agenda items for the Kings, starting with Adrian Kempe.
Yes, Dave. Very preliminary talks on a contract extension that Adrian Kempe has definitely earned. He scored 23 goals so far this season, on pace for 37. A top line player for Los Angeles, leading the charge as they pursue a playoff spot. With respect to the big picture in Los Angeles, Dave, the Kings are in a playoff spot with basically average goaltending for both Jonathan Quick and Cal Peterson. And while that's not an issue cap wise this season, they will go into next season with a combined $10.8 million cap hit, both with Quick and Peterson. So something to look out for. I assume they would go forward with those two goalies, but if they don't trade for Jacob Chikrin, they will have multiple holes to fill in Los Angeles. So that may be a precursor of maybe moving one of those two players out of the net, because that's a very high cap hit in today's NHL.
Yeah, it definitely is. And going from one team with question marks in goal down the future for a team with question marks in net right now, the Vegas Golden Knights are trying to figure out what's going on with Robin Lehner and the extent of his shoulder injury. If he is out an extended period of time, our understanding is the Vegas Golden Knights will make a move for a goaltender to kind of hold the fort down until Lehner is ready to come back. They've been doing their due diligence. Kelly McCrimmon, their GM, and the staff there are talking around the league. Semyon Varlamov, I should say, is a target for Vegas if the Knights decide that they need to address somebody in goal. He's got the same $5 million cap hit as Lehner, so it would be a bit of a wash with Lehner going on LTIR. But there are other options available to Vegas. Jonas Corposalo out of Columbus and Alex Gorgiev out of New York. So some things to watch out for in Vegas as we approach the deadline based on Lehner's health. Moving north a little bit to the Pacific, in Canada with the Vancouver Canucks. We've been talking all about Brock Besser and JT Miller and even
Sure.
Tyler Myers. DB, I mentioned him on NHL Network yesterday as a guy who's out there as well. But if they start to slide a little bit more, look for Tyler Motte's name to really start stepping up in these trade discussions. He's a UFA at the end of this season, a very good, solid, serviceable bottom six guy. Teams will be looking at him. His cap hit is very attractive, DB. So that's going to be an area to look at in Vancouver. Going to Chicago, DB, you've got something on Calvin Haan.
Yeah, and all the talk about Ben Chiarot, Montreal getting a first round pick very quietly, and they haven't had a good season in Chicago, so his numbers aren't great. But Cal Haan has played against top competition up top with Seth Jones. I certainly think if Ben Chiarot can get a first round pick, you might get close to a first round pick for for Cal as well. The teams that will lose out on Ben Chiarot, they should absolutely turn to Chicago and look at Cal Haan as a possibility on the left side, but he can play both sides. So I think that his cap hit is about $4.5 million. So to me, that is a nice option for the teams that might lose out on the Ben Chiarot lottery. Who would think there would be a Ben Chiarot lottery?
Right. There may be a Calvin Haan lottery as well, because there are a ton of teams, as we're listing here, that are interested in Calvin Haan. And Chicago is also willing to retain some salary, just like Montreal. So that'll be interesting. Right before we let things go here on Market Rumblings, a quick update on Patrik Laine. 12 goals in his last 9 games. He's absolutely lighting it up, DB. He has not had any contract discussions to date, meaningful ones anyway, with the Columbus Blue Jackets on an extension. He's an RFA at the end of the season. Those talks will happen a little bit later on, but he could be a player that, based on his performance this season, a rebound type year, over a point a game, DB, he might be able to cash in quite nicely on a new deal.
Yeah, Dave. Lonnie's on a roll. Imagine if they get him a top line center in Columbus. He had 2 goals last night, the game winner against the Leafs. He certainly should cash in. This guy is looking back to the form he was when he was that big time goal scorer in Winnipeg.
Yeah, he's certainly looking at a very hefty deal, but those conversations will happen a little bit later on. We'll keep tabs on that and much more here on the fourth period. Check us out as the deadline approaches. We've got a very busy 3.5 weeks ahead. That's Dennis. I'm Dave. Till next time.